All right, so I am tackling this week's Q&A solo again. Erin's at work. Actually, I shouldn't say solo. I have my girl pal Mimi LaRue here. She's been helping come up with the answer to this question. This is a great question. So the question is, can you take a contract in the same state that your tax home is in and still qualify to get the tax-free stipends? Which is a really great question. I'm going to assume for this video that you already understand tax homes. You already understand how to set them up properly and how to qualify for the tax-free stipends that we do get as travelers if the tax-free home is set up properly. I'm not going to get into that right now. If this isn't clicking or you're like, what is that? Or what is that? What is she talking about? Then that's a great question. You can put it in the comments below and we'll expand on this and we'll talk more about this in a future weekly Q&A video. For this video, I'm going to assume you already understand tax homes. So the answer is yes, you can take a contract in the same state where your tax home is. Okay, because remembering that you qualify for these tax-free stipends because you're temporarily relocating or moving to a location that is far enough from your home that it's impossible, right? There's no way you could commute back and forth. That's just silly, right? And so because you cannot commute and because you're not moving, right? You're not taking a permanent contract, it's temporary, right? You have to lay your head down at night in a different location that is your home, right? So you have to get your own lodging, you have to get food, you have to support yourself while you're away on this temporary location. That's why we get these tax-free stipends, because the government's like, oh, you're paying to live in two places, we're gonna help you out, you're duplicating expenses, right? So that's why we get it. So you can be in the same state and still not be commutable, right? It's not about, there's not like a certain mileage, right? We hear the 50-mile myth, and that's actually a great, it's another video. That's not true, right? There's no exact mileage or how far you have to be from the tax home, but it has to be far enough where it's literally like you can't commute. It would be just impossible. So for instance, say your tax home is in San Francisco, California, okay? And you take a contract in San Diego. It's still in California, it's still the same state, but obviously you cannot commute back and forth every single day, back and forth, right? Like that's silly. You'd be living temporarily in San Diego. Your tax home would still remain in San Francisco. So same state, right? Same state, but totally not commutable. So in that case, absolutely, you get the tax-free stipends, assuming your tax home is set up properly, and all would be good, right? Now, you could also, so state lines have nothing to do with it. Again, it's the amount, the commute, right? You could be working in Washington, D.C., okay? Which I guess isn't a state, it's more of a district, but let's just say for fun, or let's use Florida, for example. You could be working on the border of Florida and Georgia and really North Florida, and your tax home could be in Georgia, right? But if that's still commutable, if it's only 10 minutes across the border, it doesn't matter that the contract is in Georgia or in Florida and you're home, right? It doesn't matter the state lines, it has to matter that you cannot commute back and forth. That's the only reason you get tax-free money, is because you can't do that, right? It would be silly to do that, so you have to stay and pay for two different places. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope that I break that down. And here's another thing, is that you can take a contract that is close to where your tax home is. So say my tax home is in Jacksonville, Florida, and there's a travel job in Jacksonville, Florida, and I want to go home for a little bit, or I want to go home and work for a little bit. I could take that contract, but nothing would be tax-free because I would be able to commute back and forth to my tax home. So you can still do it, but you'd be what's called an itinerant, and all of the money that you make would be considered taxable, but you can still do it, right? So Again, doesn't matter about the state, doesn't matter. It just, when you're taking a step back and looking how far the distance is, you have to just make sure that it truly isn't commutable, right? And the 50-mile rule, like I mentioned before, is a myth because 50 miles looks very different. Like I used to commute over 50 miles every single day when I was living in Florida for a while. And it was like less than an hour. It's totally commutable. I could totally do it, right? But if I was living in LA, I mean, you literally can go 7 miles in like an hour and a half. So like you're probably not going to live more than 50 miles because that would be ridiculous, right? So that's kind of the point. Hope this answers your question. And please post any comments or questions that you guys want us to answer in these quick videos. Every single week we're going to be doing this little segment here, so hopefully you guys are enjoying it, and we will see you next week.